The Golden Urban Renewal Authority meeting as of July 11th, 2022. Robin, if you would please take roll call.
Musanuru?
Here.
Gamble?
Here.
Shickie?
Here.
Trout?
Here.
Brisson?
Here.
Reed?
Here.
Chow?
Here.
All right. Next item on the list, approval of the agenda for July 11th, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the agenda. Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, the agenda for July 11, 2022 is approved. Approval of the minutes for the business meeting as of June 13, 2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from June 13th.
Second?
I second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes for the meeting as of June 13, 2022, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Okay, minutes, the minutes for business meeting of June 13, 2022 is approved. Next item, public comments.
There isn't any.
Nothing, okay. I'll hand it over to you, Steve and Robin, for business items.
Robin will handle most of the meeting tonight as related to the business items.
Okay.
I will chime in on some of the committee reports or staff report items.
So as we discussed at last month's meeting, the IDA for city support services for staffing and administration and financial management had expired. And so we presented to you and I a draft for the next sort of 2.5 years. And there was discussion that the program support, the general support provided by the city to GURA was enabling GURA to meet its goals, both efficiently and effectively. And you instructed us to bring a final IGA to you, which is what we did. So in the first item is the intergovernmental agreement, and we wrote the sort of highlights, a little more terminology in the full agreement, which is attached. But if you look at the bullet items, the term is from backdated to July 1st through December 31st of 2024. In terms of management, you directed us to have the economic development manager, be serve as the executive director and the board secretary. You chose to continue the relationship with the finance department to provide accounting, audit, accounts payable, and other financial management services. You also thought and agreed that it was a good idea when Rick, the Community Economic Development Director, described the departmental structure, and that a new position is under Recruitment and Economic Development Specialist to provide administrative services along with myself to the board. FYI, we're currently in the recruitment process and are beginning to move soon to the interview stage, so that is nice. Another important highlight is that city staff remain city employees. So they're sort of on contract to you through this IGA, but they are city employees. And that to make things a little bit easier, the compensation for those sort of global city services, staff time, fiscal fees, instead of sort of a small calculation that you don't see that Steve and I always did, like percentage of revenues and percent time spent, thought it just might be easier to, looking back on past total fees for the year, that $60,000 reflected all of that. It was as easy to bill quarterly. And it was essentially the same number, but those are the components. If you ever wanted to see sort of the backup of how that number came to be achieved, we have that available to you. And then the last major item is that either party, GURA or the city of Golden, may terminate the agreement with or without cause with 60 days written notice. So the full agreement is your second attachment. No, your third first the resolution, then the agreement. And happy to answer questions or clarify anything. And if you felt inclined to do so, we would ask that you approve the resolution to enter into an IGA, and then the IGA is there as well.
Question on the 60,000 in the GURA operating budget. It shows 65, 2022. Is that looking at the right line item? City fee for
Yes.
administration.
I May I answer?
Yes, you may.
We always budgeted high. So the most instructive is the prior years.
Yep.
I can find it. Operating. So it was 41 and 17, 50 and 18, 55 and 19, 58 and 20, 45 and 21. And the reason for that is, frankly, Robin had less time to spend with you after I terminated his position in the fall of 20. But also, we didn't do as much in that year. So what I had been thinking coming in here is probably what we should be doing is the first half of the year under the calculation and the second half of the year as half of 60,000, which will save money. So this year will come in closer to 50 than 60.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
So to that point, I know I asked this question last time. This shows how poor my memory is. I can't remember a month ago. But what's the build up to the 60,000? I know that it generally tracks what we paid historically, but is it an allocation of labor for city staff and benefits and all of that rolls up to that number?
Well, that's what it had been.
Okay, so this is just a flat fee.
And
Like, what's the basis for
What's
it?
funny is the DDA has asked this same question, that we can easily do the formula. Like for the first quarter of this year, it was a flat fee. The current agreement is a flat fee for the director, $12,500 a year, and then 0.5% of all of the tax revenues received from Jeffco.
Mm-hmm.
And then a percentage of, right now, Robin's salary benefits, and not really overhead. City covers the rent and the copy machine and all that stuff. So the most recent quarter, it was 40% of her time for DDA, 20% of her time for GURA, and then the rest goes for EdCom, economic development, public art, and stuff. So we kind of thought we were making it easier on all of us by averaging the amount of time spent. But most likely, between Robin and the economic development specialist, they will be spending more time working on it than Robin and I do in terms of hours. So it's funny, we thought we were making it simpler for everyone, but it keeps going up. So yeah, the old agreements like we had last month spelled it out. That she, not hour by hour, but quarter by quarter, we have to say, well, how much of her time, or in the case of going forward, we'd have to create a new structure, because what is likely to happen is Robin, as executive director, will do executive director stuff and still do some of the administrative stuff that she was doing, because it will take a couple of years to get an economic development specialist up to date on it. So it would still need to be some sort of an allocation of hours if we went back to that way.
That's all.
Although it's not like tracking, like a law firm, every
Right,
6
bill
10
hours or
minutes and so
something, right?
forth.
6
It's more like 6 minutes, right? 6 minutes. It's like you look back at a quarter.
Yeah, right.
That was the,
Kind of cowboy now. I'm good at that
Yeah.
as a lawyer. No, that's helpful. The only reason why I asked the question is just, I'm all about simplicity. That seems like a really good idea. But I'm just thinking, as I look at sort of just the average that we've paid over time, it's slightly above what we've paid historically. And so that's why I was curious, just, is there a rationale for the buildup that seems to make sense from a standpoint of allocation amongst different boards and everything else that we would pay that amount?
it was more that it was easier to divide into 4, to be honest, it was easier to divide into 4 quarters than 55 would be, or 56 would be 19. But costs are going up. Council authorized city staff got a 3% mid-year boost, so we could buy gas to come to work.
And your revenues are going up, so your percentage paid will go up. It's a little bit because it's only 0.5%.
Yeah.
And that was negotiated down by the way, from 1% in a previous IGA.
Right, the finance fee is a screaming deal. That our finance fee of, I don't know, $8,000 or whatever it is to cover our part of the audit, and then tracking all the revenues in and all the checks out. and the COVID loans. That one, the city got a bad deal in that one. But it's real important, we believe it's real important for the city to be handling our finances for fiscal responsibility, but also because it was costing GURA, it was costing us a ton of money to have our own accounting firms and bank relationships and checkbooks, and it was, and an audit at about 10 grand a year. So it was lots of money for the finance side of it.
Thank you for the explanation.
So is the idea to guesstimate time spent with each of your chores and report back so that if we need to reallocate between us and EDA for the next version of the agreement, you'll be able to
Yeah.
tell us it was a good deal or not?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we can check in mid-year.
Yeah, not detailed, but
Right.
We
I'm
trust
not
you.
going to do the 6-minute thing, but, yeah, we could definitely, I'll keep tracking.
great, thank you.
Does that number change when the economic development specialist is hired?
No.
No, we would.
No, we're
do that.
we're assuming they would have been hired already. So what you get is, you get us, her as director, me as assistant person for
Okay.
the next several months.
And just like everyone else, it's been hard recruiting.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So are you looking for us to vote on this tonight?
Both resolutions.
Yeah.
So how about I do the next one? They're somewhat related.
Okay.
So the next item, number 2, is a separate resolution appointing the executive director. So it works again with the IGA. You had agreed last month that you thought that the relationship of city staff acting as an executive director was useful to you and that you desired to replicate that, in which case there would need to be a change from Mr. Glick to myself. And so there's a resolution 163 that spells all that out.
Any questions, comments?
So to clarify, there'd be 3 actions: approve a resolution for the IGA, approve the IGA, approve the resolution for the executive director.
Two votes, though.
Oh, you want to take the first 2 as one vote?
Well, yeah, because that's what the resolution does.
That's true, that's right. So
Resolution
it's,
approves the
thank you
IGA.
for clarifying. So 2 votes, resolution and IGA resolution.
Got it, okay. And I apologize, do you have to have a motion to vote on?
Yeah,
this?
I'll
Okay, all right.
Move for approval of Resolution 162.
Needs a second?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All those in favor of approving Resolution 162, approving the IGA for city support, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, Resolution 162 is approved. Motion to approve Resolution 163, appointing Robin as Executive Director.
So moved.
All those in favor of...
We need a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, second.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving Resolution 163, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, Resolution 163, approving or appointing Robin as Executive Director is approved.
Thank you very much.
I didn't know if that was appropriate, but I was feeling really happy for you. That was really happy for
It's
me.
an honor. I really
Yeah.
appreciate the confidence.
You and Steve both. Yeah, and now you, Robin. Yeah, so glad that
Thank
we
you.
that we
Thank
made
you.
that move. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all. And, you know, Robin and I both know that you don't have to choose staff as your support resource, but we are privileged to be that support, and we want to continue to strive for good service. So let us know what you need and where we need to provide attention, and we strive for excellence. So
Thank you.
we're looking forward to working with you.
Staff is incredible.
I'll go sit in the
Okay.
audience.
Yeah.
Next item on the list, reports of committees and matters for the authority.
That's it, it's all done. No cupcakes or anything. I thought there was-
And we're on to the next one.
Okay, all right.
We're efficient.
Congrats, Robin. Congrats.
Thank you.
Kind of whether the cart or the horse is in front of each other. We haven't pushed for any committee meetings because we're hoping to have the same or different members in about another half an hour on some of them. But in terms of Finance Committee, Robin will explain what they do during the annual meeting. But we would like to have a meeting this summer, July, early August, to talk about a couple things. One is the normal revenue projections and liabilities that we have in the project areas are pretty simple. That's pretty straightforward, but we're thinking that after we went through the value-based decision-making conversation last year, maybe you want to talk more seriously about what to do project-wise in some of the areas. So as we move into the budget, even if we make decisions, there's not a lot that we haven't already talked about that you'd get done this year. So Finance Committee has not recently met, but we'd like to meet with them. And then Communications Committee is, the annual report is on hold because we make her do too much stuff. But
It's going to get there. I haven't forgotten my direction.
But the Development and Operations Committee also, it's timely to talk about, if nothing else, the two development projects out on Colfax, 17200 and 17270. And we have had a preliminary TIF request for 17270 that's been reviewed by our economic consultant. So that one might be a little bit more urgent. So whoever ends up on the development committee this evening, it'd be great to have that meeting before our August meeting. And then the other one that we don't often list is the Legacy Fund Task Force. When you look at the budget tracker, if all of the money for the Foothills grant were to be spent this year, there's really only about $50-some thousand left in the Legacy Fund, pending the COVID loan repayments, or a total of about 160-ish by the end of 2024. But I think it would be a good idea. So when we look at committee assignments, the Legacy Fund Task Force may not exist for more than another 6 months, but it would be a good idea for us to meet and decide whether to meet with the DDA. If we don't do anything, in January of '23, we're supposed to give them all the rest of the money, which I'm not sure what to do about the Astor House encumbered money, but the extra money we're supposed to be providing to DDA. So I think it is a good idea to fulfill that one and schedule that meeting also this summer, before the end of the summer. So them are the committees, reports.
And I just want to say one thing on this. Well, we'll get it. Never mind. Wait for budget tracker.
Next item, commissioners' concerns and updates. Let's go down the line. Chow?
No concerns, no updates.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm sorry, I'm
Oh.
losing my voice.
Oh, gotcha.
Nothing this
Rob?
month?
Okay, Danny?
Just like a reminder, that green thing near my house.
Oh, I have that on my list.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yep.
But for those of you who weren't at the meeting, some telecom thing lost its shape, and Ross found it on Google Earth, and so
Is
we
that
know
on
where it
7th
is.
Street?
Fifth.
5th.
Fifth, right near the park.
Right.
At whatever that park, White Ash or?
Right, Ash. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yep. Thank you.
Look this up.
Ross can find about 4 seconds. He's pretty quick.
Go to Google Earth and see a very sad site.
I was wondering about at Mesa Drive and North Ford. There's a lot of new coloring on the street. I was just wondering if there's anything going on there, if they're going to redo anything. Mostly my husband was curious.
Not conceptualized.
Okay.
But utility companies tend to dig up everything all the time.
Yeah.
They were doing lots of, what color, do you remember? Or is it all
I mean, it
colors?
was like yellow and pink and green, and they're
Bottom
on,
page.
they're
Right,
on
so
pretty
that's-
much every,
Yeah, it's utility located. It could be us doing water or sewer replacements, or it could be cable, or it could be fiber people.
He was hoping it was to take out that obnoxious roundabout thing in the middle.
That which is not actually a roundabout, that's just some sort of weird thing in the middle.
I know, it's, I mean,
Because you
I know
can
it's like
turn
sort
left.
of like speed thing, but it's like some people like cut through it and other people
Right.
go around it.
I'll see if I can find out from
Yeah.
Public Works what it might, any of it might be.
It's
Yeah.
actually legal to turn left or to go around it,
Oh, that's good to know. I
but
will.
not at a roundabout, don't do that.
But we have those in, yeah, we have those in Denver, little teeny ones. They're not roundabouts, but it's to kind of slow people down.
Yeah. And I'm glad for that too. I mean, people in North Ford do tend to speed quite a bit, so. But thank you.
Adam?
None.
Ross? Yeah, I have no concerns either. Next item, staff reports.
Am I talking?
Please.
Okay, so your budget is there, and of course, due to the vagaries of holidays, it always affects GURA. The last of them, no, that was June. We got more money this morning. So that would be June, but so most of your revenues are in GURA, not reflected because we just got June this morning. You got a couple $100,000 in West Colfax and a smaller amount in Central. Parfit is all done. So we'll put that in, and then it'll come in smaller amounts later this year as there are challenges and people are late and so forth. But now what happens is once we're pretty certain that funding is in, we'll begin to pay out on owner participation agreements. But you always have to wait to see what their total property tax is because it's a percentage of what is paid. The other major items, well, interest is good. I guess interest rates are going up, so that helps with operating. You begin under operating to see the $318.40. That is the first very small payment for the economic consultant for the tax increment financing analysis. You see insurance. I bought you a sign for $20 that says GURA, because it's just a good thing to have. I was ordering them for every commission that I work with, so you got one too.
Where's the sign?
I didn't bring it, but sometimes there are public events and meetings, and there's a DDA sign and a GURA
right.
sign.
Thanks,
and-
Robin.
All right, so you
So
have
now,
a
so
sign.
we're legit now?
You're legit. It's one with your newer logo, which you've had since 2018, but I never had a sign. You
Oh,
never had a
right.
sign, and now you do.
Thank you.
On the downtown, this was about to say before, on the downtown sheet, the major activity is the COVID loan repayments. So that is up to date through the end of, did we just get the end of May payments or the end of June payments on that one? I just forgot.
I think we got the June payment.
End of June. So again, it's going really well. There haven't been any defaults. There have been a number of payoffs. I don't actually recall the number off the top of my head that are just, complete. There was one business that needed to adjust a little bit with on tap, and another one is working out something. But overall, the program is going really, really well. People are repaying, and it was very useful to them. So you'll see those payments reflected in two places. The larger portion came from the legacy fund, which is why it's in the downtown sheet, which is where the legacy funds reside. That $50,000 that's left and uncommitted, and they'll be coming in small amounts between now and the end of 2024. A smaller amount shows up in West Colfax. Let's see, what else? On central neighborhoods, you just see property tax, and the treasurer's fee, again, is a reminder of what Jefferson County Assessor's Office charges to administer that program on behalf of the taxing entities. In Parfit Briarwood, we did make that owner participation payment of $92.5 some months ago because they pay early. So that's what that is. And then West Colfax is the last sheet. And again, you see the property tax increment, except of course not this morning's because this I published last week. The Dino Ridge pass-through. You see the smaller amount of the COVID loan principal and interest payments, and then down below, you see the treasurer's fee, and, which is, again, is that Jefferson County charge of, I think it's 1.5% of the total. Again, it's so that finance accounting, they collect it, they process it, they send it to the city, who then allocates it into your accounts. So that is your budget tracker. for
Robin,
now.
quick question, and I apologize for being dense, but I think,
No, no.
given that I have a legal background, I can claim ignorance when it comes to financial stuff. So on the COVID loans, I'm just curious, like, I know it shows as revenues coming in, but like, what's the balance and maturity? Like, how do we know what's outstanding on those?
We get monthly spreadsheets from OnTap Credit Union, our partner, that shows every loan, what every borrower has paid, what's outstanding for principal. I mean, I have all of that backup. We get these monthly spreadsheets that show, the program is 4 years, and what was the interest rate, 4.25?
No, it's 3-ish.
3 years? It was a little higher if they wanted to pay in cash. It was a little bit less if they,
It's administered by the OnTap Credit Union.
Okay.
And so if you sign, it's just like other bills. If you sign up for automatic payment, you get a better rate than
you
if
got like a
don't.
0.25%
Yeah.
discount.
So it's like 3.25, I believe.
And maybe it was 3.5.
And it'd be easy to show you, but it comes as a lump sum, and 60% is legacy fund, 20% is Colfax, and 20% is DDA kicked in.
Oh,
It
okay.
was 404,000 total, and we're more than half repaid.
Okay.
And no defaults.
That's great.
We do show, because of Blaine Ross, from an accounting point of view, we show a potential expense for loan, what do we call it, loan default?
Bad debt expense.
Yeah.
And that's what's appearing in like 2020, that's an expense in
No.
each of
No,
those?
no,
That's our share,
if you look
right?
under
Our loan.
expenditures,
Yeah,
so like your bad debt expense, you'll see it under operating, and you would see it under West Colfax. You wouldn't see in the other
under
one.
budget.
I'm sorry, you would see it under down.
But you would not see anything under actual, because we haven't actually expensed anything
I got
to
you.
that.
Because everybody has paid.
But we
Yeah.
budget for it every year and don't expense anything so far.
okay, makes sense. That's helpful, thank you.
So is it fair to, like, if I read this right, our share of the COVID loans was 242,000 in 2020,
The legacy fund share,
or legacy fund share?
Colfax had a little bit.
Right.
Right.
And so then, with the payments, it looks like about 120,000 of that is outstanding.
Well, and if you just count the principal up to that, to get
Yeah.
up to that 242,
Just
no,
ballpark, man.
we received 125. We received
'Cause last year-
125.
Right, oh, yeah, I'm just doing rough math,
1584
yes,
and
125.
26.
Yeah, okay. I
So,
just-
yeah, so about 180.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a way to get to the number if you wanted to.
Right, so they send it like a cumulative spreadsheet, but then they send us an annual spreadsheet so that I can more easily get the number in for 2022 and separate from 2021, so that I don't have to do the math of, well, what was it? So it's been a really great partnership.
And the reason, so 21 was higher than budgeted because of the early repayments. So 22 was likely to be lower than the 60 grand in principal because we have less loans out there.
A few
But in-
businesses,
But in general, over the 4-year period, it's probably about 20,000 in interest and hopefully all of the principal back.
And the important point is everyone's paying, so we don't have to worry about it. We just keep collecting.
it's been great. A few businesses changed hands, so they paid off their loans, and a few businesses just paid off their loans because they
Yeah, that's great.
knew a good deal.
What do we do if they do default?
Contact would work with them.
They, yeah, they are not, there is no collateral. The individual business owners are personally liable, but, I think we burn that bridge when we get there, in terms of, if it's someone who's gone out of business, that's different than someone who's skipped us. Or if they've gone out of business and frittered away their whole life savings, I don't know how aggressive we want to be. And the loans range from $2,000, the max was 30.
Okay.
So if it's a couple grand for someone who we know has tried their best and just couldn't make it as a business, maybe we end up forgiving it or asking them to pay us when they can or something.
But just, you know, that was discussed
Okay.
at the time of the loans program was created, and it was, what Steve just described was decided as the best, most reasonable path in this situation when it was very dark days in April and May of 2020.
Well, that's nice to hear. No one's breaking legs.
That would be frowned
It
upon.
could- We might decide that's an option soon.
At least on camera, nobody's breaking that.
I love how you're like, that's frowned upon.
Drew sometimes wears a sleeveless tee.
That's right.
I know a guy, by the way.
But you don't know a guy.
Like, can't name names.
So that's a budget tracker. What else do we have?
I think at MTAB was going to talk about Jackson Street by the high school this month or August. They as a group really want to start looking long-term at Golden Road all the way down. And nothing's really happening on land use cases. Planning is waiting for a resubmittal on 17,200 and 17,270. Who are the folks who took us on a tour last month? They have not submitted. They've hired new designers and could be weeks or months away. I don't know of any other land use cases in Central or Colfax. Colfax will assuredly be the site of at least two of the proposals for retail marijuana. The council approved the licensing ordinance July 12th, I think it was. No, that's
No,
tomorrow.
June 14th.
June 14th. And that process will be open from August 1st till the end of September for folks to apply to try to get in a lottery for up to 3 additional sites. But it's most likely that there could be one up at Gateway, and there's likely to be 1 or 2 in Colfax. There aren't that many places in town that will allow it, but also there aren't that many available pieces of ground, except for out there.
Were there certain areas that council approved? Where it could be?
Yeah, so it was based on spacing from, our original medical had distances from certain things. So you end up with these maps with all these circles on it. And so it was felt to be more simple to, again, simpler than I had to explain it for 3 months, to just have a map and designate where it's okay. So at 6th and Indiana was far enough away from schools and parks down by the 2 hotels and the big medical building. But I sincerely doubt anyone will apply there. The one existing one is by the fairgrounds. And then
Which is a medical, but, right?
that wants to convert to both. And then Colfax from Duluth Trading over to 470, and then Gateway Village, and then 2 areas on the north side of town, but they're not actually zoned retail, they're zoned industrial, and you'd have to go through an extra process up there. So they'll probably, all 4 of them will be on the south end of town, closer to 70 in Colfax.
I could send you the map.
Yeah, please.
I'll send the map and the ordinance and everything.
So those won't be, those would not normally be a land use case. They won't go through planning commission or council. They will go through a licensing. The city clerk and the hearing officer who does liquor and medical marijuana will be in charge of that licensing.
Is that assuming they just go into an existing building? Or,
Same if they build.
okay.
Well, that would go to planning commission. Like there's a vacant lot between Duluth Trading and Jack in the Box that I suspect there'll be an application there.
It's a big lot. I feel like a
It's
superstore.
too big for that.
Yeah.
Superstore.
Weed superstore.
The Apple Jacks of retail.
Right, yeah. Someone's getting rich on that.
There you go. Is there a square footage limit?
No.
Okay, well, maybe it'll be bigger.
No, I'm sure they would subdivide.
Okay, any more public comment?
Let me check. No, sir.
Okay, items that may affect another board or commission?
DDA regarding Legacy Fund and MTAB regarding some of our potential infrastructure joint projects.
Okay.
Can I jump into that items, is that for you, for staff to say? I'd love to jump in anyway. I guess I just need to say it. That legacy fund, I don't know if I'll be on that board, but I still am a big fan, and I know we've discussed it at length, but, and it feels ironic and funny at the same time, so maybe that should be it, but trash cans downtown would be great with that legacy fund.
You don't know this.
Well, I don't. Yeah,
There's,
maybe
new
not.
ones are coming. The city just ordered 60, 50 much nicer looking trash cans that can have decor on them, that are going to go many along the creek. And we picked 4 corners in downtown and maybe more. So, you know, the built-in ones.
That's my concern, getting rid of those.
Well, what will
sustainable.
first be done is they'll be covered, they'll be removed, the stone will stay, but they'll be covered with the slab and they will not be used anymore. But there's going to be 3 compartment, nicer looking trash cans with trash and recycling and like a little place just to put the bottles in so you can't put other stuff in. And then they're going to be much more usable because like a back door opens and the cart rolls out and then
Nice.
the management company can easily get them. And they're going to do sweeping around. And actually that contractor's already started working on collection daily, including weekends, daily, multiple times. And we're just waiting for the trash bins, which come maybe in August, and then at least for downtown, there can be a decision, all of them, like should there be City of Golden logo or signage for like rules of good behavior or historic photos downtown or art, all to be decided, but they are coming.
I love the tops being put on those old ones. That's the main piece. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess legacy fund doesn't need to
City,
pay for those 60 trash cans.
The city has budgeted $500,000 this year, and then in '24, and then in '26 for bathroom upgrades.
another thing.
And I don't know how, I don't know exactly, they're getting bids and designs, whether it's gutting but leaving the structures the same. So there's 3 affected. The nasty one in Parkwood Park and the equally desirable one on 12th Street. And then, I've never been in the Lions Park one down there. I suspect it may not be as.
I've only been in Lions. That's great.
It may not be as
Take
used
naps in there.
as. But that was one of our things that, and I looked at Ross because it's one of our conversations over the years of being embarrassed taking your family in some of them.
Pretty gross.
By the
So
way,
those things are happening.
I collect photos of much better bathrooms in other places and I send them over to folks.
Like
not-
for like the Japanese, how nicely
Well,
they
you
do
know,
their
there's the
bathrooms.
self-cleaning, there's some pretty nice ones in the new Westminster development. More like you should do this, but these are some design ideas. that you
I'll
could-
start doing it too, yeah.
I was in a rest stop in
Might do
South
a
Dakota that had a bidet. There was a rest
All right,
stop in
that
South
could be a
Dakota that had a
little too
bidet. I was like, this is
Yeah,
very
they're
interesting
aware.
in the middle of South Dakota that they would do this. So,
I prefer the ones that are like the cutout beer kegs. It's easier for girls.
So
That'd be my
it's
design
coming.
idea.
City's been aware of her
I
plan.
mean, we are a beer town after all. Come on.
yes.
I didn't mean to get us off track.
That's
I know we have
okay.
lots of stuff.
But
I just
that is
wanted to
taken
stick it
care
in there.
of.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
To the annual meeting.
Oh, adjourn to the annual meeting, thank you.
I'll move to adjourn to the annual meeting.
I'll second. No.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those against? All right, meeting is adjourned to the annual meeting.
And this is Robin's first meeting as director?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So it's your last page. It's a little weird looking that you have an agenda on your front and back, just the way it's worked out. So it's a little more casual of a meeting, but would you call us to order and I'll do roll call?
Yeah. Calling to order the Golden Urban Renewal Authority annual meeting of July 11, 2022. Robin, if you could please take roll call.
Yes, 1 second. I'm ending one and starting one. Misanuru.
Here.
Gamble.
Here.
Shicky.
Here.
Trout.
Here.
Brisson.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Chow.
Here.
All right, you're all here. This is good. Very important meeting. So the first, you have an election for your chair and your vice chair. People could volunteer.
So we've
I
always,
nominate everyone but me.
so we've, I guess, a couple of things. We've always sort of, I don't know if it's a formal rule, but held people to 2 years in each position as a max. Is that
In a row.
So-
In
In a
2
row,
years in a
yes.
row, yes.
Right, and Drew, have you been doing this 2 years? And
No,
I've been doing it
one
one.
year.
one, and then
So-
Danny?
I think I got
It's
It's
Alex.
one and one.
Right, okay.
That's the current count.
But, and the other thing I guess we should mention is traditionally the chair and commonly the vice chair are also on development operations de facto. So if you volunteer to be the chair, it's not just chairing meetings there. You get some additional work. It's not a lot,
Periodic, it's not
Yeah.
like every month.
but, maybe before people volunteer, you might explain what development operations does.
So how about I
Yeah.
go through all the committee assignments
Sure.
too, so you can have it all together? So chair and vice chair, run the meetings when the chair's not here. So in terms of finance, your current members are Ross and Rob, and that is what Steve explained. Finance, looking at helping in the budget process, which begins to start August, September. Most of the revenues are in, the whole values discussion and so forth. Then they'll begin some estimations of what revenues from property tax might be next year, what the mill levy might be and so forth, and all of that information, in addition to not only what you expect revenues to be, but also what you expect to be paying out on owner participation agreements and projects, with the excess funds. That is what that committee does. So we begin to show you the revenue projections and how much money you might have to expend on the various things that you have to expend money on and things that you might want to expend money on, the infrastructure projects, the West Colfax kind of thing. So that's what that committee does. I didn't leave anything out. So development and operations, right now, it's 3 members, although we have 1 vacancy, so we have Drew and Ross. Although Dan is not on that one as vice chair, and I don't really recall why that is. But, so that is typically looking at requests for assistance for tax increment financing. Can't really remember if it has done other things. So that's the upcoming discussion, the previous discussions on the various West Colfax sites, and a potentially upcoming one with this new economic analysis. And so the Development and Operations Committee sees those projects before the whole board sees them and does some evaluation and looks at real estate market conditions and potential, what the project might entail and how that aligns with conditions and how the GURA might want to participate in a project if it makes sense to, both financially and from a perspective of GURA's goals. But then a much larger discussion happens at the full board level. But they do some of the heavy lifting to begin with, and it's sort of as needed. It's usually 4 or 5 times a year, I would say, a meeting. So that's that one.
The board, that would also be the committee if we were to try to acquire property. And then sometimes they see proprietary information that doesn't go to the whole board, or if it does, it goes to the board in executive session. That there are some financial information that we may see that it's, if it isn't critical for the whole board to see it, then the committee sees it, and then we report back to the rest of the board. So it's about money also.
Communications is the annual report, so that's like 1 meeting and a follow-up. And so we've had that, except I haven't had a chance to do the annual report, so that's very low-key. So economic development, by bylaws, GURA has an economic development, appoints a representative to the Economic Development Commission, which is a little bit, I think, of a carryover when GURA was still doing more grants and that kind of thing. But nevertheless, it still exists, and Kevin Yoshida had been the economic development representative, but as you know, he moved to Planning Commission, or you might not know, he moved to Planning Commission. Well, you stole him, it was great though. So we would love if somebody volunteered. That is a heavier obligation. It's a monthly meeting. It's typically when the calendar works out, GURA is on Monday and EdCom is on Thursday. It's a great group of local business owners and business people, and it comes from all over the city, just like GURA reps. You all come from all over the city. They come from all over the city. Although they can be business owners but who don't live here but own businesses here. And it's a great group, and they work in the traditional economic development part of the community economic development department. Business retention meetings, attraction meetings, providing connections to resources for recruitment, internships, startup support. They have a small budget of about $50,000 a year, but they're very nimble, and it's mostly used for like sponsorships of various entities that support our businesses or bring a lot of people. Like earlier this year, there was an energy transition investment conference at Colorado School of Mines, so EdCom provided a few $1,000s in support. Coming up, I'm going to be asking them to reallocate some lines of the business. There's something called 1 Million Cups. Does anyone know what that is? 1 Million Cups is an entrepreneurship support initiative out of the Kaufman Foundation in Kansas City, which is very much dedicated to entrepreneurial support, very diverse entrepreneurial support. And the idea is you meet monthly and you have coffee. Anybody who is in the startup world, and it doesn't just have to be like a high-tech startup, it could be business to support each other. It's not a leads group, it's supporting and advising, and it's casual, and it's led and driven by the entrepreneurial group. It's going to be housed at, so Jefferson County is getting one. Our friends at Connects Workspace in downtown Golden applied and were approved, and it's going to be housed up at the new Orem building at the Connects Red Rock space. So EdCom is really likely going to pay for a bunch of coffee for this, and it won't be just limited to Golden, it will be for all of people in Jefferson County, which reflects the very strong partnership between Golden and the peer cities in the county and the county level economic development corporation. So I'm not going to go on any more about EdCom, but that is the kind of stuff that they do. It's a great group, and they help with traditional economic development strategy, and but does require a monthly meeting. The next few are sort of as needed. Historic preservation, we don't even have an assignment because there hasn't really been a need for a GURA member to go to historic preservation, community sustainability. I mean, Rob on downtown DDA is one of the liaisons, but you haven't gone because there hasn't really been a need to. Same with Planning Commission, same with NTAB. Go ahead.
So actually, those are all holdovers from the pre-2014 GURA, who thought they needed to, I guess they had lots of time. They thought they needed to have liaisons to lots of other boards, and that would be critical to their mission. So you could decide not even to list those. If it's just going to be as needed, you could end up deleting them, and when there's something comes up that we need to go to another board, frankly, it'd be better if a couple of people could go. Mm-hmm. But that's how they got there. No, but Robin's going to talk about number 10.
So number 10 is, that responsibility is likely to go away soon. Just by way of background, the Legacy Fund were monies that were left over from this downtown urban renewal area that expired. So the Golden Urban Renewal Authority exists, but the downtown project expired because urban renewal areas are limited to 25 years. There's no renewal, so it expired. Then GURA created 2 new urban renewal areas in 2013 and 1 in 2014. That's what you work on now. But then there's those funds. So by contract and IGA with the DDA, the 2 organizations have managed the funds jointly was it since 2014? Since 2014. But that relationship is coming to an end. And most of the monies, and there is a separate committee of GURA members and DDA members that jointly make decisions and or recommendations, evaluate projects, and make recommendations to the respective boards to expend those funds. But that relationship was extended at least once, I can't remember if twice, but that relationship ends December 31st of this year. And there's not much money left. There's about $50,000 uncommitted now, and as the COVID loans roll in between now and 2024, it will go up to maybe $175,000. But there's a little bit, but that would be mostly after the GURA relationship ends, and it would just then be a decision of the DDA on how to expend the rest of those funds, which do need to be expended downtown. So for the rest of the year, it would be very helpful to have 2 folks on the Legacy Fund task force to work with the DDA partners because the DDA is getting requests for way more than what's left in the legacy fund. So that one will be a short assignment, but an important assignment. And I would not predict that the DDA would be inclined to extending the relationship after the end of this year. They've extended it before, but I don't believe they would extend it again. So given all of that, are there any questions that I can answer about the various, chair, vice chair, committees, and so forth? Did you want to just start throwing names out?
I have a comment rather than a question. I know Steve suggested maybe we get rid of these board liaisons as needed. Because of my own experience on this board, and it really taking a long time for me to get up to speed on what's going on, I would love to keep them all there and keep them as needed so that new members do see that a liaison position is possible if and when that's there, that it's part of our history to have liaisons, even though, and I would suggest we don't fill them.
Okay.
So everybody does things differently from every board. That's the rule. Every board has to do things differently. People who want to be real official sometimes make staff open the nominations and close the nominations. Other boards, this is more of a less formal one where you try to figure out who's willing to do it and then they get nominated. And then the chair draws the conversation. So if you want to do the second version, you should run it, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Which is how it's been done in the past.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll just open it up to nominations, so.
So you indicated, I don't know if you were joking, that you didn't really want to maintain the role as chair?
I don't mind it. What it is more the fact that I'm worried about my time
Okay.
availability, because and Robin can tell you, over the last like 6 months, I've missed quite a few meetings because my business has really taken off. And so if you want me to serve as vice chair to fill in, I'm happy to do that. But chair, I'm just worried about my availability all the time.
Well, I like the way you run meetings, but yeah, I totally respect your time. So, yeah, I think that's a good alternative if you're willing to serve in the second role as vice chair.
You might remind them of your excuse.
Yes. So typically as the council representative on GURA, councilors decline to be either chair or vice chair. We can serve on committees, but we don't like the perception that somehow a councilor is taking control of GURA or DDA. So I am definitely not in the running for either of those two positions.
Well,
You could also volunteer.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
tell you, Drew, I was going to say, I didn't mind, I was perfectly fine being in the vice chair role when you missed.
Yeah.
And-
You want to step it up to chair?
Well, I guess what I was saying is if you wanted to keep the chair, I would be happy to keep the vice chair and fill in. No, you don't want to. I'm sorry.
No,
Before you flip.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to do the other one, and I would love if you want to take the vice chair and
Yeah.
serve in that role.
Fine with it. Yeah.
Do
Any
we-
volunteers, though?
To take the vice chair.
No, I'll just open it up to
I'm
you.
volunteering
Yeah.
to take the chair role.
Okay. And then,
And I'm volunteering you to take the vice chair.
There you go.
You should probably have a vote of some
yes, so,
Is anybody else
Yeah.
interested?
yeah,
I guess,
anyone
is the
else
question.
interested? Any nominations, volunteers?
sort of-
Okay. So voting Danny as chair, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right. Our new chair, Danny Brisson.
Thanks, Robin. I'm so glad to work with you.
All right, and then voting me as vice chair. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Yay, me.
Thank you both.
Did you miss this meeting last year? Is that why you're chair and
No, I'm-
development operations and communications?
No, I still made it on all those committees somehow.
So for the rest of them, it really can be consensus.
Yeah.
Or-
Okay.
Or hand raising or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Doesn't need to be a vote each time.
Okay, so for finance, I guess it's Ross and Rob, are you still willing to serve on those?
Sure. Good.
I'm happy to unless anybody else
Any other
is
volunteers?
dying to do it.
I do not like looking at numbers.
All right.
Okay, same.
We got Rob and Ross. All right, development and operations. We've got myself, Ross, and then an
Well,
alternate.
Danny should go. I
Oh,
would
Danny should
recommend
go.
as chair be on that, if you,
That
because
sounds,
that's the
that sounds
tradition.
fine. Yeah, that sounds great.
So since I started, sorry, one little thing about that is we could have any number, but more than two folks together is a public meeting. And a lot of times it's just better to have all three and to post it as a public meeting. If we're going to, frankly, if we're going to look at highly proprietary confidential stuff, it may be that which two of the three are available would be the ones that would attend, because not always everyone's available at the same time. But it's great to have three members, especially in case somebody's not available.
I mean, considering what's going on, I'd be happy to be the member if Drew wanted to be the alternate, considering he may not have the availability.
Yeah, that's fine.
Steve, are you suggesting there should be 3 there then, or 2?
Oh, the one where there may be times where only two will meet.
But there needs to be 3 on.
There don't need to be, but it's certainly
Better.
cool to have three.
It's been helpful in the past where we actually have sat down and decided which two of the three make sense for a particular task.
Gotcha.
So I think it's really helpful to have 3 people, even if they're all available, they don't all have to be there.
And it's a very crucial committee for
It
making
is.
those evaluations.
But I actually, I think it'd be great if you're willing to stick on there, Drew, as the
Yeah.
so-called alternate.
Yeah.
But then again, if anybody else, looking at those of you that've been on for a year, whether you'd be interested, because, we don't want to have the same people dominating all the subcommittees.
Any volunteers? No? Okay. So I guess it's me, Danny, and Ross.
Yep.
That sounds good.
Communications, we've got myself and Danny.
Maybe there could be some, this is very low-key. It's like
This
super
one really
easy.
Super
is.
low-key, and
Yeah.
I'd like to give up my spot there.
Understood.
I
Yeah,
actually would like to be part of it.
Great, thank you.
Anyone
Anybody
want
else?
my spot? It's one of the easier ones.
It is simple.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I actually, there is one I want. I'm just waiting.
Oh, okay. Excellent, but thank you. And a marketing person is really good, because it can be really hard to describe in an infographic what GURA does. It does not lend itself to beautiful graphics. And just, this year's is going to be talking about the values discussion that was had at the end. But anyway,
But to be
That's a
clear,
challenge.
you can serve in more than one position, so don't
yes,
worry
you can
about
have
it.
more than one.
Next one, EdCom.
That's the one I want.
Oh, thank you. Guess what? Your first meeting was this Thursday.
This coming Thursday?
Congratulations.
I
Oh, yeah.
can't go,
Okay.
but next
Yes,
Thursday.
I will let them know. They will be so happy. It's a
Because my
terrific
husband
group.
is going to the police one.
No
so
worries.
I'm already on kid duty.
No worries.
Yeah.
But
That would be great.
It's a great group.
I was afraid we might have to ask council to change the code or something, because it is a burden, not a burden. It is.
But it is.
You're really,
not a burden,
you're,
but
making
it is
this
an
easy
extra
for me.
meeting.
It's so much fun. They're going to turn
Well,
their
she told you how
lives
great it is, but
around.
it's an extra night.
It's an extra night,
It
so
affects families.
But I like the connection piece, like
it's really
that's what
great.
I-
And yes, you will be wonderful on that. So
So these next 4?
do you want to leave them? Danny had
That
suggested
was
that
just,
we
it was
leave them.
a suggestion. I don't want to dominate our decision-making if people have different ideas there.
So were you saying just leave them on the list or actually appoint someone
I'd
right now?
my suggestion would be leave them on as board liaisons as needed. So leave
Yeah.
them there and don't appoint anybody.
Gotcha.
As Robin pointed out, I haven't been to a planning commission board. I think she also said, Rob, you hadn't been to a,
That's, technically correct. I
Yeah.
do get
Right.
updates, but,
Right.
yeah.
so
No, I think
Well,
that's
tell me
fine.
which boards we don't even list.
Oh, we don't have like budget. And we
Well, no,
don't have-
Pram.
Pram.
Right.
It's the one that's not here. But I love Daniel's suggestion, or Danny's, whichever your name is today.
Both, whatever you want. Yeah.
But.
Mr. Chair.
What, we should have Pram. Parks, Recreation, and Museums Advisory Board.
So we're adding Pram.
Just one of those, in case it comes up, it might help us remind ourselves that for that thing at the end of the meeting, items that may affect another
Yep.
board or
Yep.
commission.
Yeah.
And it can always be an ad hoc, something's coming up, and
Right.
whereas,
But just for those of you that are newer, what we've typically done in the past is when we're doing a joint project with boards, we either go to have a few of us go to their meeting or have a few of them come to ours. So it's just not one person speaking for all of GURA. And it's worked really well on the couple of collaborations we've had.
And is it like a potluck? Do we bring like a casserole?
No, it's at one of the formal meetings because they are public meetings.
oh, like, I think the budget people used to have donuts. I don't know why they got donuts, but
Well, can we use the coffee money from the legacy fund to do that?
We could entertain people if we invite them.
Is there a-
so legacy fund.
Yeah.
Legacy Fund, okay. Got me and Adam, and then we've got one vacancy. Any volunteers?
I'm happy to continue to serve on there.
Yeah, I'm fine, unless someone wants to take my spot.
Yeah, so.
And you two have the context for
Finish it
the
out.
last couple discussions we had.
Would anyone like to volunteer to be the alternate?
But we'll just
It
schedule
will not
meetings-
be a long responsibility.
But we'll just schedule meetings when Adam and Drew are available.
If nobody else will do it, I can step into that role as the
Okay.
alternate, but,
You are it.
okay.
I almost thumb wrestled you for that. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you win. I have the weakest thumbs ever. No, if you wanted it,
Yeah, I'm sure.
absolutely,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Do you
yeah.
want a more active?
Yeah,
I'm good. No, I have a pretty busy rest of the year.
okay.
I'd have to look at a calendar.
Are you
It could-
feeling good with?
It seems like that would
Okay.
have to be hard to do because it's the 19th.
It's also good to know your
and
limits,
Yeah,
right?
it would never be
It would be
30th or
very
14th.
unusual, but it could happen.
All right, so next item,
Switch it out.
future
Later in the year.
GURA meeting dates and times.
So just a
Second-
reminder, your meetings are the second Monday, where there are very few holidays. Second Monday of the month, 6:30 PM. DDA gets hit with third Monday holidays all the time, including our newest one, Juneteenth. So we moved their meetings in January, February, and now in June. Could Juneteenth ever be the second Monday? I don't think so.
So we don't think so.
I don't think so.
Right now, we don't think there are any federal holidays on the second Monday of the month.
So anyway, and at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, I send out your calendar for next year, but just as a reminder, those are your meeting dates.
And normally not December unless you need one.
Right, that's true, normally not December.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Great.